Hello there. Welcome to Fate Mag Radio, the online voice of Fate Magazine. I am Kat Hobson, your host, and I am so excited about tonight's show. It's been years since I've spoken with this guest, and I don't really know why. He's one of the more interesting people in the paranormal field. He has a great attitude, great skills. Um, he's all about really inclusivity and helping people understand the paranormal. He is he's a really nice guy, and on top of that, he is he is all kinds of things. But he is the host of Boogeyman Radio, the producer at Haunting History, filmmaker, and this is where we got connected years ago into the light and exploration of the Spook Light Phenomenon. And he is the creator at Ghost Dad. And not only that, he's really a good person. He is part of the Dark Realm TV network, and he is somebody that I really like a lot. So, David Glidden, thank you so much for joining me tonight.
Well, thank you for having me.
Oh,
Too kind.
I'm just, it's been a long time since we've spoken.
It's been a minute. It has been
a hot minute.
Yes.
But, I still, when we go to Cherokee, and I really much have to do my work in the summer up there because they close the Blue Ridge Parkway if there's even a chance of getting below freezing. Hello, Jeremy. Hey, Lori. And I'm a woman by myself, so I have to be particular. But I'm still working on trying to ascertain the reasoning for those Thomas Divide lights. And I've done so many things. My husband got behind me on this because of some of the stuff you and I talked about.
Right.
And he was like, this is real. This is wow. And
there's a lot of science behind it. A lot of science that supports it. So I think it's really easy for people to just dismiss it rather than to accept it. But when you start actually digging in, it's real. It's there. There's science. There's evidence for it. So I think that's makes it a lot easier to turn these skeptics into believers. So, and that's because that's what they want. They want the facts. They don't want just like feelings, or people telling them I saw this, but where's your proof?
Right. Well, I have proof. I mean, I have video, and since we spoke, I was out there because like I said, he's playing poker. I'm usually out there by myself. In the summertime, I can be out there a little later because they don't close until like 20 minutes till sunset.
Right.
But I was out there one evening and they come up. We've done the topography maps. We've done the driving the mountain. We've done everything, gotten our information squared up. And one came across the divide. I was fooling with my camera. And, everybody was over on the other side. They were kind of in the midst. They were, doing what they do.
Yeah.
And when I looked back up to get my camera back up, there was one that had crossed the divide and was right by a tree that was on the overhang there. And that's the first time I had one of them approach me. And I was like, thank you so much for being curious and for wanting to share with me, but this is making me a little uncomfortable.
Right. Well, that kind of experience is not a common one. I mean, it does happen, but it's not a common one.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. How many people do you know that have had them try to interact?
So, depending on location, in regard to like the Brown Mountain lights, we've only had, when Josh and I did our investigation out there, talking with locals and everything like that, there was only like 2 instances that we were able to come across where people got really close to the lights. And a really interesting story we were told were about a hunter and his son who would go out into the woods. Of course, when you go hunting, you go extremely early in the morning, earlier than I'm comfortable getting up at.
Ditto.
And they went out this one time and they're walking the trail and they see these lights coming towards them. They thought maybe they were 4-wheelers or something, other hunters being out there, but there was no sound. And so they stopped to listen, and the lights kept getting closer, and the lights were traveling along the trail, and they were just watching these lights, and as soon as they got a certain distance away, it went off path, went around them, and then got back on the path and continued on. I've
So it
never
just
heard
circumvented them totally.
completely. And something like that would suggest like an intelligence.
Hmm.
But then again, if magnetism has anything to do with it, if, like when you're putting two magnets together, they reject each other, I wonder if that doesn't play a part into it.
And we
Um,
do have a certain element of that built into us.
yeah. Another instance was a guy in the movie. We talked to him briefly. He was there at the Overlook, and he was telling us about him and his friends being out there, and they actually witnessed this ball of light, and it got about 10 feet away from them, and they took off running because they were scared, rightfully so. But the out in the Brown Mountains, it's far and few between. But if you go out to like the Joplin Spook Light, a lot of the stories, people there's a lot of people that have had stories where this light anomaly will actually enter their car as they're parked on the road.
I
It'll
felt
come to
like
their
that was a
car and
possibility because it was pretty darn close because I was
yeah.
parked right by the wall
Hmm.
and it was not bad. I mean, it wasn't being bashful. It wasn't, you know, darting or anything. It acted like it had a purpose.
Yeah. So I don't, certain places it's like what's the purpose of the light. Um, but of course, like if you guys have anybody watching has watched any of the films, especially the second one,
Hmm.
the idea behind it's kind of out there. It's a broad theory, but it's one that is still grounded in science, but also tiptoes that line of the supernatural.
Hmm.
Everybody wants it to be a supernatural thing,
Yeah.
and it can be to an extent. Some of it's going to be, ghosts. Some of it could be, UFOs or Bigfoot or whatever. But it does toe the line between supernatural and scientific.
Well, I used to be frustrated because David was so protective about that.
Mm-hmm.
And I was driving up there one night and there was a sow boar with like oodles of babies. And I'm like,
Oh
oh,
yeah.
no, I will not be getting out of my
No.
car tonight.
No.
But I done at night anyway because yeah, flying solo.
Yeah. Bad things
But
happen at night.
the most interesting thing to me was the fact that a when I go down, because I always check in at the ranger station before I go up
It's a good
because I
idea.
want somebody to know
Yes.
that's where I am in case they need a search party the next morning or something. But it's so funny because one of the rangers, who's obviously they're all locals, but she was like, well, that's really rare to get activity there. And I was like, well, I don't find that to be true. And she said,
Hmm.
my children have been, 18 to 25, right? My children have been going up there so often, just, and they're locals
Yeah.
and nothing ever happens. And I said, well, maybe they should ask them. Yeah.
It's all about
So,
approach.
so the locals really believe in this. This is a real thing for them,
Mm-hmm.
right? But they're not getting the activity.
Yeah. It also really depends on exactly how much they're going out there too. Because some people will say, "Oh yeah, I've been out there." They've only been out there once, and they probably were out there for 30 minutes and got bored and left. But
Well, she made it sound like they were really seeking this contact.
hmm,
So I don't know.
yeah,
But she was like, well, there's no way you're doing that. And I'm like, I have video. You want to see it?
yeah,
you
she's
know?
probably like, "Yes, of course I
Yes,
do."
she did.
And then
But
she's gonna go home and tell her kids, be like, "Look, you guys aren't doing it right.
you need to hang out with this chick.
you need, you need." I got her advice. I wrote it down. I wrote everything down for you. Here you go. Now do what she says.
But
Okay.
it was fun though, because at least she wasn't blowing me off.
Yeah,
That was cool.
that's always fun though when
Yeah.
people they sit there. Oh, there's nothing. You're like, really? Because I've seen it. Tell me there's nothing when I've seen it. Okay.
Yeah. Well, and I really do have video.
Mm-hmm.
So, that one, in fact, you can hear me on the video with the one that came over
Mm-hmm.
because I'm like, no. Hello, no.
Well, your
Because,
response was better than mine.
well, there might have been a little editing there.
Oh, okay.
Not a lot.
Mine sounded. I sounded ridiculous when I seen the lights out at the Brown Mountains. I like if you
Brown
remember
Mountain's
that.
different.
If you remember that vine of the double rainbow guy, where you're like,
Yeah.
oh, double rainbow, oh my god. Oh yeah, I was that guy, but with the lights. It was. I felt dumb afterwards, but I had to leave it in there. I had to leave it in the movie.
Well, yeah, because
It,
it's a real reaction.
exactly,
You
exactly. I
know,
was in awe. Like,
it is all inspiring, but I don't know that I would have been as calm about being approached by the Brown Mountain Lights.
why's
There's
that?
too much history with that,
Well, yeah. There's a lot of
and it's
history
not
back there.
good.
No, no. But on one hand, the if you want to go with a spiritual approach, I mean, yeah, the history's not good with it. But if you go into an approach of, say, like if you, well, that whole area, there's a lot of UFO sightings, a lot of Bigfoot sightings as well.
Yeah.
If you want to go in the UFO approach, what you're seeing wouldn't be a UFO based off of my research. It wouldn't, based off of my research, I don't think that these things are spiritual exactly. I'm not to say that some orbs aren't, but like with the Brown Mountains and like Joplin and stuff like that, I don't think they're spiritual at all. I do believe that it is basically plasma being left behind from interdimensional travel. You know, we talk about spirits, you know, potentially being interdimensional. We talk about UFOs traveling from light years away. They're not going to just drive a straight line and avoid every asteroid or planet that comes across going light speed. They're going to open up wormholes. They're going to, you know, take the short route. And some people believe that Sasquatch is an interdimensional being. In fact, quantum theorists have speculated that we are capable of changing our environment with our mind. We just haven't been able to do that. I know there's people that are like
I bet you're working on that though, because I know you.
Freemason. So Freemasonry's got this. Somebody had mentioned this to me. There's a thing in Freemasonry where they believe that you can change things with your mind. And
Yeah.
I was told about a guy in Kansas City at the Masonic Lodge up there. He was part of the group for like, I want to say 30 years or more. But almost every day he would sit for an hour in one spot, stare at a block in the building, trying to turn it into gold.
Well, if you're
That's how
going to
much they
spend an
believed in it.
hour, you might as well do that, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
How much is an hour worth to you? I guess it's weight in gold.
definitely a block of gold.
So like, if all these beings are capable of interdimensional travel, and Bigfoot's like one of these beings that has a super brain, and you know, it would explain all the blurry photos, but if it's able to bend time and space and become invisible or to shift into different dimensions, it would explain the blurry photos and things like that. But anytime that there's a rip in time and space, there would be elements of plasma being left behind, like a thunderstorm,
Yes.
which is why you get ball lightning. But a lot of the times, there's no thunderstorms when people are seeing these lights. So
I
these
see them on
lights,
clear nights. I
yeah.
mean,
And
perfect weather.
these locations are areas where there's high concentration of UFO sightings, Sasquatch sightings, or paranormal activity like ghosts and stuff. Um,
Yeah.
so if there's that travel happening in that area, what's going to get left behind when you have these things traveling in and out? You're going to get plasma, and it would illuminate in the dark. So I think that's, for the most part, what we're seeing with these balls of light.
Well, I just find it fascinating because I've been there when there was nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I've been there when they started well before it got dark.
Yeah.
And I've been there when there was every hue and color. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, which blew me away because I had only seen pink, grays, and kind of a purpley blue.
Mm-hmm.
And so that one night, I don't know why they were so vivid. And so, I mean, seriously, greens and pinks and oranges, and there were so many colors, but there were also
Yeah.
so many of them. But I mean, I was used to just seeing the three shades, and I didn't know what to make of that.
Hmm. Now, from talking to Rick Park, um, he and I are both like these kind of a-holes about like orbs, like, photos of orbs and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Uh, we tend to crap on people's photos because of that. And, but for good reason. It's not like
Well,
we're
there
just
is a
like
good, yeah.
bullying, but like, you know, moisture and dust and everything like that can reflect light differently
Well,
based
sure,
on its
especially if it's
makeup.
not dark yet.
Yeah. Um, Based on the makeup, say like there's a higher zinc concentration in a droplet of water
Hmm.
than anything else, it may reflect like a orange color, or if there's
Hmm.
a potassium or higher levels of different elements, it'll reflect
That's a
light
great point.
differently. That's why you would get like different colors like blues and stuff like that. So these light anomalies could have elements within it that are illuminating different colors. So
Well, it was interesting because that truly was something I didn't understand because I've seen them in daylight before too.
right,
But it was just such a varied thing. But probably there had been a storm that day or something, or there was one coming because atmospheric conditions, they don't really affect how they move,
no,
but they do affect how they look.
yeah. Um, Now if you see a red one, you better run because it's a demon.
What?
A demon.
I got your demon.
If
But it's
anything.
but it really people, and again, you have scenarios like Joplin, you have scenarios like, you know, Brown Mountain. People are terrified of this phenomenon.
They are. It's
And
odd, but like it's warranted, I guess,
I
because
think,
things that are unknown typically do scare us. So um,
well,
I understand it.
I agree.
I still
But
wouldn't touch
you know, it doesn't make it easy to have a conversation with people there.
Yeah.
And, and that ranger was so funny. She was like, my children have been trying to see this for years. I was like, well, they can come with me.
Yeah.
I mean,
Have some
I'm
company. That
here.
way, if there's a mountain lion or a bear, you can push them towards it. You walk away.
I run. Yes. Yeah, that was before I broke my knee. I'm not quite as fast as I was before. I would need a diversion.
There you go. Just
So,
hurt
but
somebody and knock
so,
them down.
so what is your favorite thing that you're working on right this red hot minute?
Oh, this red hot minute. Um, I had started a new YouTube channel called Ghosted.
Hmm.
Um, so like for years I did haunting history, and um, I felt like it was time for a change. Um, the team, the initial team that I had whenever I started that, it just slowly dissipated. People's lives change and move on and things like that. So I was still investigating. I still am investigating, and I still like putting stuff out, putting video work together, and things like that. I'm a glutton for punishment, apparently.
I would
So
say.
I, towards the end of this last year, I was like, you know what I think would be kind of cool is to, like, with haunting history, we tried to educate about the history of the locations. I was like, I just want to educate about the paranormal in general. Uh, and then I got the idea of like starting up a brand new YouTube channel, starting from scratch, just to see, personal goal really, how big I can build that channel in a year. Um, and then, I can vlog my own experiences and my own investigations where I'm solo, and not always solo, but most of the time I'll be
Yeah.
solo. Just kind of not necessarily my life in the paranormal, but just the stuff I do. But share the information that I'm going through, like some of the research that I'm doing, some of the experiments I'm doing. Some of this is getting featured in some of these videos. I do a tour called the Midwest Mystery Tour, in which I conduct experiments with the guests. And I really thought it was a good time to start putting that kind of information out there, what I'm doing, why I'm doing it. And maybe, people that are active in the paranormal community who want to try new things, which I think everybody wants to try new things. We're just kind of stuck in this tunnel of like, well, we've learned this and we've learned this from, watching TV and watching the shows and stuff. But a lot of people are like, where do we go from there? And experimentation.
Well, that's when the
is
play
where we
starts.
go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Experimentation. It's a creativity, in a sense. Not everybody's going to be able to find something that, I'm trying to think of the best way to put this, unlocks their mind to come up with these new ideas of ways of interacting or trying to get results from an experiment. So like one of the experiments I've got, actually, I'll talk about an old experiment that I started doing a long time ago. And it was funny because Ghost Adventures started doing it. They did it a couple times. And I had to call my buddy Justin about it. So
Justin is pretty cool about stuff like that.
Many years ago, we started doing what we call the phone-in EVP session. And basically what that was is somebody that's not at the location would call on our cell phone. We'd put them on speakerphone. We'd set the speakerphone or the phone in a room with a digital recorder, and we would leave. We would leave the building. That way their voice is the only one coming through. And the reason we really started doing that is because when we're there doing EVP sessions, we're speaking in an acoustic frequency, whereas coming through a phone signal, you're speaking in electronic signals.
Right.
And we were just kind of seeing like, maybe this will work. Maybe they'll interact. I don't know how many stories you've heard about people moving into a house and the phone rings and then they realize, oh, we don't have the phone hooked up yet.
Yes.
Like ghosts like phones. Okay.
They do like phones. I have a story about that when you get through. It's funny.
So we started doing this experiment and we started having success with it. We actually, I would say about 60% of the time that we did this, we were picking up things like the person on the phone would hear stuff come over the phone. The recorder in the room would pick up stuff that's in the room. The recorder would also pick up stuff that's coming over the phone that the caller doesn't hear, but like you can tell it's coming through the phone. It was interesting stuff that was happening when we did this. And then fast forward about, I don't know, maybe 8 to 10 years, and there was an episode of Ghost Adventures where they did this, and I just died laughing. And I had to call up Justin Spurrier because he was the equipment manager at the time, and I was like, "You're sharing my ideas, aren't you?" Giving him a little bit of a ribbing. I'm trying to keep it clean here for you.
I got it though. I'm pretty sure what I would have said.
Yeah, so. I wasn't mad. I was just giving him a ribbing, but it was funny to see that the experiment get that far. But then it just kind of died out. We started trying different things, and now I'm more focused on frequencies.
Frequencies are fascinating.
Oh yeah, I found one that's supposed to. I'm going to start experimenting with it. It's supposed to give you an out of body experience.
Okay.
I don't know to what extent, but the government was using it, so I'm going to use it and see what happens.
Well, I don't really see where. I mean, because you can always come back.
Yeah.
So.
And if you don't believe in it, then I mean, you're not going to focus on it
and freak out.
Yeah. So.
But can I share something with you?
Absolutely.
Because I find it interesting. Have you been to the old Paulding jail in Ohio?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
No.
somebody who is another one of the best researchers I've ever known in my entire life. Dots the I's, crosses the T's, innovative thinking, owns a haunted location, has interaction with spirits that are there, believe there's some dimensional things going on there. And she was having my friend Rick McCollum for an event.
Mm-hmm.
And I was supposed to go meet all my friends up there. And I got hurt. I couldn't go.
Okay.
So I'm just like, no. Well, while they were there, I just called, you know,
Mm-hmm.
cell phone, chat. Usually the phones won't work if you're in the jail cells. But when every time I go to the jail physically, I always go to the first cell block because that's where I had my first truly major paranormal experience that was off the chain. And I pissed them off. But they let me know. But we came to an understanding. But and every time I go right there, and I'm always like, "Hey guys, how are you? It's Kat. I'm back. I just wanted to say that thanks for letting me come. Looking forward to our visit."
Right.
So they were downstairs, and I had called to see what they were doing. I didn't know what they were doing, and so they were like, "Oh well, we're doing this and we're doing that," and I was like, "Oh, well." Hey guys, it's Kat. I just wanted to tell y'all, hey, these are my friends, and make sure that they behave, and I'm sure they're going to be interested in you like I am because I've told them all about you. Da 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 da. And they started getting so much interaction, and
Hmm.
away from away from his cell phone, everything else was going off. You know,
Yeah.
and I was just like, I'm on the phone.
Yeah.
you know, that's going that's going to do stuff, but it wasn't like my voice creating it. It was
Right.
separate from my voice. And I thought, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But anyway, that place, if you ever have a chance to investigate there, it is like 17 miles from the Fort Wayne airport. So getting there is not a
Oh.
problem.
Wait, which
And
jail is this?
the old Paulding Jail, Paulding, Paulding,
Write that
and
down
it's in Paulding, Ohio.
because I am going to be in Ohio this next month.
Oh my gosh. Well, the owner's name is Shelly Robertson. I'll message you all the details.
Yeah,
But
please do.
the jail, I think, is on Facebook. Shelly Robertson is on. Shelly Burke Robertson is on Facebook, and um, it is amazing.
So
And
I will be. I will actually be investigating a jail in Ohio. Come this Friday, I start a
really,
2 week road trip for Ghosted, in which the goal is to investigate 12 locations in 14 days.
oh wow, that's ambitious.
Oh yeah. Or everybody that's investigated knows like about the paranormal hangover.
Hmm.
And that's just after like one investigation. This is just pure brutality on my own psyche. Um, so that's part of why I'm doing it. I usually do experiments on other people, but this time it's kind of on me.
Yeah.
And I've never been one to do protections and things like that, or worry about bringing something back with me because I've I may have brought stuff back with me, but it doesn't bother me.
Right.
In the 20 years I've been doing this, like I don't think I've ever had any issues really with myself, in regards to bringing anything back or being attacked or anything like that. So, um, my my thought process on this was, when you're investigating that much, being around spiritual energy that much in a short period of time, do you experience more? Also, getting so worn out and tired and everything, will I experience more then? And will it be easier for them to communicate with me? Because my guards would be, in essence, weakened.
After you do this, I want to have a conversation with you
Okay.
because I was in Scotland for almost 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
We went to so many locations that I wasn't always sure what town I was in when I went to bed at night. Okay.
Yeah.
And, because some night, when we were in Inverness, we had a base
Mm-hmm.
for a few nights. And when we were in St. Andrews, we had a base for 4 nights. And when we were doing stuff,
Right.
but we were investigating almost all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And we went to iconic locations.
Yeah.
And I know that you're going to be open,
Mm-hmm.
okay? But be careful of how open, because when you start getting tired like that, and I'm not an experiential medium, okay?
Right.
That's not my color tea, not my bag. And I had 2 experiences where I was struck in different ways in 2 locations. And they hurt. I
Hmm.
mean, they really
Yeah.
physically hurt. And so when you start getting tired like that, just be aware. I mean, because neither one of them killed me,
Right.
obviously.
Right.
Um, one of them I still have residual pain from, which I find very odd.
Hmm.
But, and I'll tell you about them after you do this.
Okay.
But just make sure that you're aware that when you do start getting that strung out, that activity senses vulnerability.
Right.
And so, while am I so glad I had those experiences, except for that last one that's still with me? Yeah, I
Yeah.
am. And, but it was, there is a vulnerability that comes with
Oh yeah.
being that stretched out.
And I'm gonna be alone. So.
Yeah, that will make it. How far are you going to be from people that know what you're doing?
Well, I have friends in Ohio, so um, depending on the location, really, I think the furthest I'll be away from anybody. There's 2 locations that I will have a guest with me, at least 2 of them. So I'll have that, but one of them is like in the middle of Iowa. So Iowa's all cornfield.
Yeah. Well,
So
I've never been there, but I've heard that you can watch your dog run away for hours.
yes,
So,
unless he runs into the corn, then it's just lost.
yeah.
But outside of being in the middle of Iowa, Ohio, I've got I want to say 5 locations that I'm doing there. So the guys from Dark Realm, they're only a
Yes.
stone's throw away. Um, as well as a couple other people that I know. Austin Maynard,
I
he's
wish I
out that
was
way
up there. I
too.
would love to investigate with you.
Um, I after this trip, I'm probably gonna take a little time off from investigating, and then I'm gonna be kicking it into gear and doing the Midwest Mystery Tour. So I'm gonna
That'll
be
be
looking
fun.
for new places to do. Um, I'm I was talking to somebody last year about doing something down in Texas, so that's a big possibility that I'll be doing something down there. But I haven't really jumped into that yet, and usually when I do, it's like spontaneous.
Well,
Um,
that makes it more fun.
oh
And
yeah,
also, you don't have time to get stressed. You just go, do it,
yeah,
done.
and dude, that's my planning. That's how I plan stuff. I'm like,
It
oh, I have an
works.
idea. Let's go do, and I'll stay up late at night, like trying to get everything going and figuring everything out and calling people, emailing people, and stuff like that. And I'll if I had enough 5-hour energy drinks, I would stay up a week doing everything, getting it all done.
That's
But
funny.
no, I will stay up about 14 hours just working on something straight. If I've got if I feel like I've got a great idea or the motivation hits right,
Great
that's what I'm
ideas
doing.
deserve that.
Yeah, you got to focus on it. You got to do it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it'll
Because you have
become
to
a.
grow them. You get the hit,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then you're like, ooh,
It's almost
can
like
I do
adrenaline.
that? And then you start on logistics, and then that's where the fun happens.
Yeah,
So,
realizing you don't have the funds to do everything you want, you're like, oh man.
yeah, but
Now,
that's when ingenuity kicks in.
yes, So like
I tell
with
you
this
what, if you
tour,
ever come south to do these things,
yeah.
I
I
can
will.
hook you up.
Oh,
That would be fun.
I will definitely come south to do these.
And you know, Denise Pridemore lives down here now too.
Yeah, they're in Florida.
So, mhm.
She's been trying to get me to come down there for a while now, and I want to get down there and visit. I really do. So that might be something to look forward to probably this fall.
Well, it's always a good time, and it's much better in the fall.
Yes.
You would
Yes.
be much happier in the fall.
Oh, I love the fall. That's my time of year.
Well, but I mean, so that you don't melt right into a puddle in the middle of a fort somewhere.
Yeah, I've been to Florida a few times, and
Yeah.
y'all can keep that humidity. Y'all can keep that
Yeah,
those
well,
ocean temps. You can keep that
I
down
am
there.
from Alabama, born and bred, and even I get enough of that stuff.
Yeah.
I do want to let people know that we are doing our Fate magazine giveaway tonight.
Whoop whoop.
And if you are in chat, pop in a hashtag lights, and that is your code to be entered into the drawing. So just come on in, hop in chat, and let her rip, tater chip. But you know, I think it's so fun to do investigations, and I love to watch other people's investigations. So I think that what you do to share this with people
Hmm.
is so cool.
I think it's different. Like I've been a part of a lot of these group investigations, and they're all the same.
Yeah,
It's like if there's events and there's paranormal celebrities and they're supposed to lead these events and these investigations, and then they'll they basically let everybody just do whatever they want
yeah,
for the most part, and then they don't really teach them anything. They don't explain why they're doing something, because not everybody that attends these things are like active investigators. There's some of these
well, they're
people
there
are.
for yeah, a lot of them are there because of the name
Mm-hmm.
of whoever's there. And
Yeah.
you know, that should not be, I mean, I know it's the draw for a lot of people,
Yeah.
but the location and the experience, because I've been to celebrity events with people that didn't know anything about the location they were at,
Mm-hmm.
they were leading an event for.
Yeah.
And it's like, why are you here?
And the other thing is, like, when there's so many people, it's hard to really have an experience because everybody's talking, everybody's like so close together, everybody's just doing whatever. So I wanted to make a tour event that was unlike anything else. The first year I did it, I did have special guests. I kept those hidden so the names wouldn't be like the reason people were going. I wanted
Right.
people to come because that was something that they'd be interested in. And then I'd surprise them with, the guest investigators. I think we had Katie Stafford and Josh Hurd and a couple others on those events. And then last year's events, I cut out the special guests and we just focused on the event itself. And we did even better. I think people caught wind of what I was doing, and
Yeah.
they wanted to experience it for themselves. And at these events, like, I'm doing experiments on the guests, like they are participating, whether they like it or not, in these experiments.
Well, they signed
um,
the release, right?
yeah, they
You're
did.
good.
That's exactly right.
So,
And a lot of these experiments, they're not like really, they're not jarring.
right.
There's no, I would want to say physical. There is a little bit of physicality. So like last year, I based all the experiments I expect. Can't talk. I based all the experiments off of fear, and
Really?
the best one. So I did one at a place called Carpenter's Mortuary. I did a couple episodes on this, a two-part episode for Haunting History, and I brought Justin Spurrier out there with his son, and we had a lot of stuff happen. So then I started doing these events, and I did one out there, and last year was probably, or the first year was probably one of the coolest ones because I got to use an element to invoke fear that I haven't been able to yet. And this event happened like,
Wasn't a snake, was it?
no.
Okay.
This event happened. I think it was like November 5th or something like that, November 4th, just after Halloween. The place is used to be a mortuary, but now it's a haunted house attraction. So Halloween season's over, so you would think the attraction's closed. But as soon as everybody got there, I sat them down and I let them know they are going to go through the haunted house attraction with the actors and everything full blown, everything going. And they were going to go in one at a time within a minute apart of each other. So
Oh,
they had to go
wow.
through the haunted house before we actually started investigating. Which a lot of people were pretty scared about that. And that was pretty dope of them to do that for us. But that right there just kind of raised the fear levels because when we
Well, it got
have,
the energy in the building rocketing.
yeah,
Wow.
we have those kind of emotions and we have those outbursts and things like that. That's energy that we're putting into the environment
Yes.
as well. And that's what I wanted to do was
That
have
was clever.
us feed whatever's there our energy. And then later that night, one of the guys, he had his shirt pulled up. Um, he freaked out over that one. It was one of his first experiences he's ever had. We did another experiment where it was a dual Estes session.
Hmm.
We had my lapel mics, my wireless mics, hooked up to one single speaker, and we would put two people on opposite sides of the building uh, under the Estes session at the same time, and then everybody would be in another room asking the questions, and we would get
Ooh,
responses from both people. So that was pretty fun. And we'd rotate
that's
everybody
cool.
out. You know, everybody got to participate in that. But the second year we went back to Carpenter's, one of our guests, her name's Jessica. She had been going to some of the events, some of the other locations, so she was kind of familiar with what I do and stuff. And I put her through one of my well-known experiments, which I call it the sensory overload.
Mm.
I came up with this one during the time that people were just fascinated with the sensory deprivation thing.
Right.
Blindfold and putting on noise canceling headphones and stuff like that. I was like, well, everybody's doing this. What if we just like bombard your senses and see what you experience? So, what I did, I first started this with Josh Hurd at Malvern Manor. Put him in the Shadow Man hallway. I for about 5 hours I pumped charged ions into the atmosphere down this hallway. We closed it off and I've got what I call the ion cannon. It's this thing right here. You can
Right.
see inside it a little bit. It's copper tubing. It's all electrical, but it's got a fan on the back that blows everything out.
Oh, okay. Well, that's cool.
But we pump in all this energy into the environment in that central location. And then I took Josh in there. I set a chair down in the middle of the hallway, and I told him to sit in that chair. I turned on a strobe light. I turned on pink noise,
Oh my
um,
gosh.
and then I left him alone in there for 20 minutes. And the idea behind it hits different facets of our experiences. So, like with the pink noise, obviously there's going to be audio matrixing. With the strobe light going, there's a potential of visual matrixing. With the ions, the physiological effects that ions will have on the human body could range from just paranoia or whatever. And then also to go psychologically with that, I stuck him in the middle of the hall with nothing to his back. So there's no safety net, and you feel
Okay.
like you're in the ocean surrounded by sharks.
Yes.
So within the first minute, he was up and up against the wall, like back up to the wall,
Josh
freaking out.
Hurd?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So I had to go back in there and tell him you've got to stay seated. You have to stay seated and focus down this hall.
Oh my gosh.
And it was bizarre because he was hearing his name being called. He was he was seeing movement at the end of the hall. He was having a bunch of experiences. So then I took this
Were they
experiment
real or from overstimulation?
stimulation. So then the next time I did this was at Ashmore Estates
Oh,
with Dan Williams down in the boiler room and Mary Marshall. Dan had a pretty interesting experience down there where he felt like something was playing with his hair. He felt like cold breeze going over him, and then he saw a shadow in the other room. Um, it was interesting, and then he also heard like orchestral music, very peculiar.
that is
And
very
then
peculiar for there.
so like fast forwarding to the tour, I started doing this. I did this at the Thomas Building in Kansas, and I did this on five people down in the basement, one at a time, and four of the five people saw a figure down in the basement. Three of the four saw and described the same figure. They don't talk after their sessions or anything. It's all the information is gathered at the end. But for three out of the five to experience the same figure in the same location,
That's
it was
fascinating.
mind blowing. Um, so then I did this at Carpenter's Mortuary with this girl Jessica, who she would tell me that like she doesn't know if like maybe she has a guard that's up, and because she doesn't experience anything. And so I put her through this, but instead of using like pink or white noise, I actually used a frequency, a resonating tone. The frequency I used, I want to say it's 456 or 458. Um,
Both
but I
are
used
powerful.
but I used that frequency while she was doing this, and she felt like she had some kind of experience, but she wasn't sure. But later that night, she started experiencing things. We had a door shut on her group. They were just sitting there and the door shut, a bunch of EMF and lights lighting up on all their gadgets and stuff. But ever since that night, she's had a flood of experiences. Like, and it seems like I unlocked something in her mind
Yeah.
doing this to where she's now capable of
That's why we use
experiencing the
frequency,
paranormal.
though.
Yeah.
I mean, for healing, for
Mm-hmm.
opening ourselves, I mean, frequencies has a lot
Yeah.
of capabilities.
Oh yeah.
So, how cool is that?
Oh, it gets some of these experiments get really bizarre.
Share some more. I love
Rec-
Bazaar.
recently, I started doing this on the last tour. I'm probably going to continue this and maybe broaden it a little bit. But I like I said, I've been messing with frequencies, and
Right?
I was curious about that 456 frequency. And there's I read this thing about obviously not obviously I guess to some people. You're familiar with like a forever mirror
Yes.
where you have a mirror on one side and they reflect back and forth and just creates
Yes.
like this.
The reflections go on.
Yeah, yeah. So I years ago I was reading about that and how people think that those are portals and that creates a portal or something like that. And then I want to say about a year and a half ago I read something about people using frequencies to vibrate mirrors, and supposedly that creates a portal. So I wanted to try this and use forever mirrors or just a mirror to create a portal with frequency. And I did this experiment with some people where low light have the frequency going. They sit in front of this mirror and just gaze into a mirror for about 15 minutes. I didn't want to drag it out too long for people. The first time I did this, I used three different frequencies, but on that 456, when people would stare into a mirror, they would see their face morph. Um, they would see things change. They would see things move in front of them or in the mirror. And so the 456 kind of got it start from that. But I did this around Halloween with KY3 News, investigated the Titanic Museum in Branson, Missouri.
Oh my gosh.
And the Chad Pline, the guy I do the news story with, I had him sit in. They have a forever mirror set up there. It's wicked because you come around the corner and you think you're gonna just keep walking, but it's actually a mirror. It's so messed up. So anyway, sat him in front of the mirror, and I sat down in front of the mirror to do this on the other side. And his experience was he was seeing his face basically just melt away. It was crazy.
I'm sure he
Mine,
thought so.
yeah, oh
Wow.
yeah, he was tripping out over it a little bit.
Sounds like literally.
The
Flashback
experiences
Central.
the experiences I had, it was weird because I was using my peripherals to make sure watch my surroundings in the mirror, and one of the oddest things I had seen was like this shadow cross over and darken my body out. Didn't darken any of the surrounding, like my surroundings or nothing. Just my outline of my body and everything in it blacked out. And it's like it crossed.
Interesting.
And then I started seeing this face of a man who had like a goatee, not a beard, just a goatee. Very bushy mustache, bushy eyebrows to go with it. Like gray eyes. Like it was. He almost reminded me of like a Civil War captain. What you would expect with that kind of
Right.
those features. But I started seeing this face morph into mine and everything, and it was just bizarre. So,
His face was morphing into yours.
like my face was morphing into that face, like it was becoming that face. That's
Right.
how it showed up. So it was really bizarre to experience that. Um, but that again, that's still a relatively new experiment that I've been doing, and something I want to continue and build upon that. I also tried doing a thing at 118 for 118 hertz recently with a group of people before the investigation started. It's a calming frequency.
Hmm.
Normally, I do stuff with fear or try to elicit your emotion and your energy and everything, but this time I wanted to see what happened if we all just sat in a room with this calming frequency and just try to relax and then go investigate. Put ourselves in a good headspace when we go out there. Um, One cool thing about that frequency though is when you have that playing, and usually it's pretty loud. Uh, if you have negative or traumatic things going on that you can't stop thinking about, play this frequency. Play it for about 10 minutes. You will not be able to think about whatever's troubling you.
And
Like
what
you'll
number is that?
118. It's like you can acknowledge it, but to verbalize and describe
To
what's
be
going
stuck
on,
in.
yeah, you basically hit this fog and you can't think about it. It's so weird and bizarre. So
It's so cool.
that's something I even showed the people uh, during that experiment. I was like, guys, try this. it, it was like the second time I ran it. I did it once at home when I read about it, and I was like, I'm gonna try this, and I couldn't think of stuff. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna do this with them. But again, I come across a new frequency I want to try that is said to elicit an out of body experience. So I might try this on this tour at one of the locations. We'll see how it goes. I'm documenting everything. We'll be filming all these locations. It's going to be filmed for Dark Realm TV as well as the Ghosted YouTube channel.
Well, I tell you, that's one of my favorite things about the Dark Realm TV, right? Is that there's so much of this nature
Yeah.
there.
Oh yeah.
This is one of the most, and I mean, I'm so excited to be part of it. And because of being with people like you and everyone else, and it's just like there's so much information, and it's a negligible subscription. It's what, 4.99
Yeah.
for
Uh,
your subscription,
like if
and
you
it's
the
Amazon
cheapest
and Roku.
yeah, the cheapest thing I've subscribed to is like Discovery Plus, and that's $9 a month.
Yeah,
So
and
four
I
ninety
mean,
nine for like a paranormal channel where you get everything paranormal. I mean,
Everything.
that's all I pay for like Discovery Plus for is all the paranormal stuff on there. But there's nothing new.
There's not
There's
anything new,
nothing.
but we are.
Yeah.
I mean,
So,
we have so much innovative stuff on our network.
and here's another thing I like about the network is it's not a bunch of people trying to be scary or spooky.
We're that all by ourselves.
You know, like
We don't have to try.
I don't want to
No,
dog
seriously.
other streaming platforms or anything. You know, I'm gonna say them. I'm gonna say their name because I'm known for calling people out. Streaming services like Paraflix, you know, they try to push this scary, badass, spooky, like we're cool, all in black. This like that's what they're
No.
that's the image they want to put out. That's what they push.
That's so cliche.
It is. It's very cliche. Whereas with Dark Realm, you can be yourself. Be your quirky
I
self.
mean, I've got
Be
aliens
funny.
in my room here.
Yes.
You know, I mean, and Buddhist tapestries and, you know, tree of life. We are so diverse. And I'm a jam up ghost hunter.
There you go.
You know, but,
Yeah.
and I love to watch other jam up ghost hunters. But it's so cool to be part of something that's not locked in a box.
Yeah. You don't
I
have to
mean,
be fake here.
yeah,
Did I just say that? Maybe I did.
we're going to hell.
Maybe I did.
Nothing wrong with speaking a little truth left or right.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, but that is what's so cool. You know, it's really when I found out that you were part of Dark Realm, I was so excited because I know your work because I
Mhm.
followed you for so long.
Mhm.
And if we were anywhere that I could get close to your investigations, I'd be investigating with you all the time. And it's one of my favorite things about this network is that I'm learning about people I didn't already know about,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm turning friends onto them.
Yes.
You know, it's just a real, it's a different way to present the paranormal because, you know, we do have shows that are a little darker, but nothing is put on.
Right.
Nobody is trying to, you know, do gotchas or fake stuff or, you know, it's a
Real
good
investigating.
environment for the paranormal,
Yeah.
I guess is what I'm trying to say.
I think people are finally starting to figure out, you know, and I want to credit like YouTube channels like Beardo Get Scared, Mythos, the Side Eye
Yes.
Guy, like the debunkers that are out there that are, you know, calling out the BS that's on YouTube right now. And even some of the network shows, like they're calling them out, showing how they're faking stuff and doing all this dumb stuff.
And this is a real thing. You don't have to fake.
Exactly. You can still be interesting without faking,
Well,
believe it or
you're
not.
more interesting without faking because I'd much rather have my reputation
Yeah. Same here.
and have a experience where there was nothing to share
Mm-hmm.
and
And
say,
you
you know what, this is what happens sometimes.
and as far as so I do have to admit and put this out there too because I am a creator that even if it's boring, like if nothing is happening, you can still spin it just enough to keep it entertaining. Like I
Well,
know a
but
lot of people
that's,
like a lot of people don't like background music or ambience when they're watching
oh,
the
I love it
investigation
because
portion.
it can actually ramp up stuff.
Well, I mean like for a
Like
viewer,
post production.
yeah, yeah. So
Okay.
like for a viewer watching, like if you're just watching and it's all just the camera audio and there's no background music and there's nothing going on,
Yeah.
it gets flat. You got to add some of that stuff in there for tension and all that.
Well,
It keeps
that's
people
entertainment.
engaged. Yeah, there's always going to be an entertainment aspect to any video that people put out there for like, you know, subscriptions channels or YouTube or whatever. So, I mean, there's that element, but you can still be legit and still be, you know, forthright while keeping it entertaining.
Well, absolutely. And, you know, really and truly, no matter what your profession, no matter what your projects, no matter in what context? If you don't have your reputation, you don't have anything.
Mm-hmm.
And to, we all know that ratings are nice,
Yeah.
especially if you're on a public network. Um, like, dare we say Travel Channel?
Yeah.
I mean, you know,
Why not?
but so I can see pressure having something to do with that.
Oh
But
yeah, for sure.
there's enough that happens that you don't need to fake.
Oh yeah.
And enhance, there's nothing wrong with enhancement. There is something wrong with faking.
Absolutely.
And they're two completely different things.
Mm-hmm.
And I like knowing that something's about to happen or feeling like something's about to happen because of the ambience.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. That just adds to, for
The
me, it
woo!
adds to the mystique of a location. You
Yes.
know.
Well, I'm going to tell you, I was at Culloden Battlefield. There wasn't jack going on out there except that somebody shot me. So I was totally, I was done. But there was no ambiance except
Yeah.
for like, oh, I got to go. But it was, you know,
Now I do like creating some
outdoors.
content. I don't know if you got to watch it yet. I did a, I guess you'd call it a documentary, called "The Ghosts of Malvern Manor,"
Mm,
and
because
basically,
Malvern fascinates me.
yeah, um, it's basically just a story. Like it's a documentary about the spirits that are there. It's not so much about the manor itself, but the spirits.
Mm-hmm.
And I go through each one of the spirits that are said to be haunting the place, and talk let people that have investigated there, or people that know the history of these people, let them talk about these people, let them share their story, share their experience with them, and evidence surrounding those particular spirits. And that kind of content I actually really enjoyed doing, because it's like, there's a lot of people that go out there and like, oh, I'm doing this show to tell their story, but they're not really telling their story. They're trying to
Yeah.
document the evidence.
Yeah.
It's like, no, let's share their story. Who is this? Who was this? And why would they be haunting? And like, there's not a lot of background information on the subject matter, just the subject.
Yeah.
So,
I think that's brilliant.
and I'd like to do stuff like that around the country at all these big, well-known places that have multiple spirits. It wouldn't really work too well. Like, say, I don't know, say like a place that has like one spirit or something.
No,
It'd be
no.
like a 15-minute documentary and it's done.
Yeah. And, where's the fun in that?
Yeah,
But
like, oh,
that's
that was
what,
cool.
the place that I was telling you about in Paulding, Ohio, that place has like retired sheriffs' spirits are there.
Hmm.
Um, it was on a Portals to Hell episode. I was on that, but only for a moment. But it was their season 2 premiere,
Uh huh.
and they didn't even really delve into the hauntings
Hmm.
because it's it has resident spirits
Mm-hmm.
and people that come back and forth. There's a lot of dimensional things that appear to be starting to develop,
Mm.
and it has an owner that's very into research and documentation, so it makes it fun. You would have a ball talking to this person. Um, and again, Shelley Robertson, I'll connect you. She's on my friends list,
Yeah.
but she cares about her spirits. She is all about the research and trying to figure out what is happening through here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, are there portals? Possibly. I mean, there's so much that she's doing, and when you have somebody and like you're trying to get information, you're trying to understand what's happening,
Right.
you're trying to learn what's creating the environment that lets these things happen. When you find people that are doing that, it's so nice because you bring so much more to the table with that.
Oh yeah. And
I would
it
have loved to have
opens.
seen Josh Hurd in that.
I
But I'm
have
going to have to
video
go
of it.
and look at that.
I'll share a link with you. um, I like doing the experiments, and I like to get that information out there, not through, especially through not just doing the events, but now with Ghosted,
Hmm.
like I was telling you before the show, Ghosted, it's there's a hyphen in between the T and the E, so
Yeah.
it's Ghost Education, and the whole process behind that is to educate people, whether you're a new investigator or you're a seasoned explorer. There's going to be something in there that might entice you, or something you didn't know or didn't think about, and then you can go about trying it and seeing how it works for you. Or and it could be like a piece of equipment, or it could be a method, or it could be a theory, it could be anything. But there's going to be a lot of information that comes through on that channel. Like I said, I just started it. We are, I think, about 80 subscribers.
Well, I think it's very cool. And I will be subscribed. So
Yes.
there's that.
Good. 80. Number 80 right there. We're at 79, so
There
we'll
you
be at
go.
80.
You
That'll put
just
us
hit
at
it.
80.
But I think it's so fun because I've done my show for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
I paranormal experience. I've done faith for like 5. And so I've never really focused on pushing it
Right.
because I when I was with another network, it was always promoted. And so I didn't really learn how to do that because I didn't have to. And so now I'm just kind of like, but I always talk to all these way cool people like you.
Yeah.
And it's so much fun because I've learned so much. And so that's what I try to bring to my listeners too is the opportunity to get to learn what you're doing in the field, to learn, well, look at these experiments. We have to go check this out. And I
Yes.
really consider myself more of an expediter than, because I'm a researcher in my own right, but my shows aren't about me.
Yeah.
So I try to bring other people forward so that, hey, I learned something new because you
Mm-hmm.
can bet your bottom dollar I'm going to be implementing things that I'm picking up from my guests on my investigations, right?
Right.
And my listeners do that too. And it's so much fun
And I
to,
I like it when they get involved, like in the comments
yes,
and stuff like that. That to me, that's one of the best feelings of like saying like my video got through to somebody. It's like seeing them comment, "Oh, at this point I heard this," or "At this I heard this," or "Saw this." I'm like, "Okay, so you guys are actually paying attention." So and
yeah,
that gets me like excited to do more. But I will say, in regard to content and stuff, there for a long time, you know, uh, a lot of people were very vocal about there being a change in the paranormal content, changing it, like, because everything was the same. Everything that was coming across on Discovery and Travel and all that, it was all the same. All the shows were the
same
same.
location, same equipment, same
Same
techniques,
same
everything.
investigators.
Yeah.
And at that time, I had created a series, a show, called Paranormal Studies, that literally, had it gotten picked up, would have rocked the foundation of
Yes.
the paranormal reality, genre. Just because it was so authentic, so real, and you know, it would, I guess, in a way, kind of expose all these other shows for what they are,
Yeah.
and of course, nobody wanted to pick it up.
Go figure, right?
Shame, shame, shame. Um, so, and I tried twice to get it put out there, and film like a try to film a pilot for on 2 different occasions, and the ideas behind it were, I think, were fantastic. One was exploring the psychology behind investigating, and another one, just it was exploring the sensory deprivation, but with a twist, having a psychic medium doing remote viewing at the same time during all these sensory deprivation sessions. And that's when I caught like the best piece of evidence I've ever caught, the best audio piece. I caught it out of Malvern. But and that was done with Richard Rose. Rest in peace, Richard.
May he, wonderful
Um,
man.
in fact, you'll I don't know if you've seen this. I'm trying to think which video it was. It was one of my last videos on the Haunting History channel. Um, I did an investigation at Malvern. I have a recording of Rick doing an EVP session at Malvern.
Right.
So I played one recorder and recorded with another recorder and let Rick do an EVP session there in Malvern Manor and put part of it on the episode, kind of a tribute thing. And I've talked to his mom about doing this thing where I wanted to cut up his audio and take him asking questions and
Right.
just arrange an audio file so he can go and investigate with me all the time.
That would be so cool.
She loved the idea. But he actually
He was
got
a
some
good
activity.
investigator,
Oh yeah,
as well as a good human.
he got some activity out of that video.
Yeah.
Got some elicit some responses or footsteps and things like that. It was pretty interesting. So that's something I'm going to do more of with in regard to Richard down the road too. Um, but yeah, I tried to push this paranormal studies show quite a bit. Myself and the Paranormal Research Institute, Dan Williams and them. We tried to push it. It didn't get the support, not just from network, but like also from the paranormal community. Like there was a lot of people that were screaming for a change, and to create change, you have to put up or shut up. And
You do.
a lot of these productions, it costs money, and we tried to raise money to get a full season of paranormal studies filmed. And
I remember when you were doing that.
like,
That shocks me that you didn't.
we didn't we barely even scratched the goal. Like it was, I think our goal for an entire season was like $10,000, which is completely cheap. And that's because
That was all.
I already own the cameras. I own all the stuff. I don't have to have a big network. I'm filming it, I'm editing it, I'm putting it all together. All I needed the money for was to do the traveling, book the locations, and that's it. And to be honest, in full disclosure, the time that I would be taking away from work, that would also help keep me in my home.
Solvent. Yeah.
Because I have to pay bills too. So that would pay for the locations and stuff like that. You know, but we didn't get hardly any support. I'm not going to say we didn't get any. We got hardly any support from the paranormal community, which was really a kick in the gut. But I think people just it's hard for creators because we know we can put out content for free, and people know they can go on YouTube and watch content for free. But that doesn't pay us. It doesn't keep
Well,
us
it doesn't compensate for the time and effort that goes into doing that.
Yeah, and like the people that do it full time, if they've got 100,000 subscribers, they might be able to do it full time and be able to pay their bills. But
Or a trust fund.
Yeah, something like that. But like for the most of us, that aren't that big on YouTube or anything, we pay for it all out of our own pocket, plus paying for our own bills and stuff. So
Yeah.
cost
Life.
of living, it's there, it's real. I'm never shy about talking about like finances when it comes to filming, because people just don't realize that that's an aspect. They
And
think
being shy about it doesn't pay the bills.
yeah, people think you can just go do it and not have it affect you, but it does. It affects everybody that does it. So in case you follow anybody watching, if you follow a content creator, just let them know you appreciate them, because they go through a lot to put out that content for you.
Well,
Especially if they're not
especially
getting
somebody
paid.
that's prolific like you.
Oh,
I mean, and
prolific,
there's so many independent researchers in this field, and mainstream networks are there just to feed masses. If
Yeah.
you're if you're an original thinker, if you're an original um, developmental person, if you're trying to bring different methods of investigation forward, then you're generally not going to have a lot of support off the bat because you have to catch somebody's eye or ear, and it makes it so hard.
And with network, they have to sell advertising.
They do.
That's the bottom
That's
line
how they
right there.
live.
So if the show's not drawing the advertisers, the companies that pay for advertisements, then they usually cut the show. It's not just about viewership; it's about how much revenue they get. That's why I don't like network TV. Plus, they want you to, fake crap. We were talking about faking
And
stuff.
they do want you to fake crap.
I couldn't. There's probably about 5 times I've talked to producers about being part of a show that was going to be on network TV, and I just get too real with them. They don't like that.
Their loss.
Yeah, no, I mean I straight out tell them that I'm not faking anything. I'm not going to overreact. If you catch any kind of reaction from me, it's going to be 100% natural. And if anything is faked, I walk. That's just how it is. I'm not there to play games. I'm there to actually do some research and show people the research.
Well, and the thing about it is that they think that everything has to have a jump scare every 2 or 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And if you're a real researcher, that ain't it.
Yeah.
I mean, that the odds of that happening are so slim.
I've coined a phrase called paratainment. And that's pretty much all it is paratainment. All this stuff on YouTube, all over the place, is paratainment. I've started making T-shirts with that on there too.
Yeah. I'd probably buy one if I saw one.
I've got a
Just
shop.
saying.
I've got a shop.
I'll find it.
I'll send you a link. You can share it.
Okay, and we'll put it up in the event too.
I have been starting to build up a T-shirt shop and stuff like that for people to help support like the Ghosted channel and stuff like that, because
sure,
that's something I really hope takes off.
I see a need for that.
Yeah,
I really see a need for that, because whether it's an experiencer, a researcher, somebody that's a little afraid of what might be happening, around them, there's so many different ways that you can go with the ghost ed.
Mm-hmm.
There's
and I'll throw this out there for anybody that is experienced, and I want to put out videos on there that aren't just about me giving tips and stuff like that. Other researchers, if you want to make a video giving a tip, like if you want to explain REM pods and how they work and how they are defective and things like that, if you put a video together and you want it on Ghosted, I'll throw it out there. It's not something that's gonna centrally revolve around me. I'd like to get other groups and people together on that and get that kind of information out there, because it's a community. It's a paranormal community. We're a collective. Let's act like it.
Well, absolutely. And that's one of my favorite things is being at a con somewhere
mm-hmm.
and running into someone that I haven't met yet. Right?
Yeah.
And like if somebody has a shirt, or if somebody has, like, you're wearing dark realm, I need a dark realm hat.
They're actually pretty fire.
Huh?
I like it. They're pretty
I like
fire.
it too.
I like it.
I love it. But it's I have found people just because they were sporting their brand.
Mm-hmm.
And I stopped the guy in the hallway and said, "What is that?" And he was like, "Brrr." I was like, "Here's my card. Come on my show." And so
Yeah.
I made a great friend, learned all about, different ways of doing research, and just because open to it. So fun stuff.
Had a little interruption, sorry.
Oh, I don't care. This is why it's live, right?
Yeah, that's why it's live. But no,
So,
I agree with you. And I thought about doing it this year. Not, I'm booked for like 4 conferences, but I really wanted to get out and go just be a visitor at some of these conferences and just kind of not tell people who I am or anything. Just walk around,
yep,
see what's going on, and uh, eventually maybe just kind of just I can't even think of the word for it. Like just meet people and just kind of build a community that way,
yeah.
instead of being like, oh, look at me, look at me.
Well, that's one of the best parts about doing any con. I'll be at the Gettysburg Battlefield Bash, and I'm going to be doing some others too, but that's the one coming up in July. But, you know, and that one I like because it supports wounded warriors,
Mm-hmm.
supports kids with cancer. It's been going on for some time. The Berries do a great job with that, and their volunteers are amazing.
Right.
And I'm going to be doing like a sky tour looking for UFOs and stuff while we're there.
Oh, cool.
So just fun stuff that's different.
Mm-hmm.
But it's so much fun to see and to learn. And I meet people because I'm stuck way down here in Alabama, right?
Right.
If I don't travel, I don't meet anybody.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
so, but I go to California, I go to Ohio, I go to Pennsylvania, I've gone to South Florida. I mean, I love going to cons,
Mm-hmm.
but it's because it's fun.
Yeah. Oh,
And you meet people in an environment where everybody's going to be interested.
yeah.
So, and interesting would be the hope.
The
I, I do want to tell people because we're going to be getting close. Go ahead if you want to win Fate magazines tonight. Put hashtag whites in the chat room so that you will be entered to win. So hashtag whites in chat. Just pop it in there. But I think that I did not know anybody was interested in lights besides me until I saw you.
mm-hmm.
And that's a good example because when we first spoke, I didn't know anybody else that was doing that.
There really wasn't, and
Yeah,
there kind of still isn't. Like, there's been shows that have done like an episode or
just an
something on them.
episode though. It's a big topic.
Yeah, but like, there's not a lot of research going into it. There's not a lot of eyes
It's
really
not sexy.
jumping on the subject. I mean, you could treat it like
I think it's sexy.
Expedition Bigfoot. We call it Expedition Light. Um, but the funny thing was, like, with conferences, in regard to conferences, real quick, one of the most interesting guys I've met in a long time. I met him at a conference, and it was funny because uh, myself and the PRI, the Paranormal Research Institute, we were all speaking
Yeah.
there, and he lived in Kansas City. This is where the event happened. Was in Kansas City. He taught parapsychology at the University of Kansas City, Lawrence, Kansas, um, for I want to say like 10 years back in the '80s. But he just happened to hear about this event that was going on not too far from his home, so he showed up, and he actually sat and listened to like my presentation, Dan Williams, and we're all just like standing around outside, just chit chatting during the conference, and he comes out there and he's like, starts talking us up, and he's like, I did, to be honest with you, I didn't know what to expect. I figured it would be all like the hoopla and crap that's on TV, but when I heard you guys speak and you guys were talking about science and doing like these actual research and methods and things like that, he's like,
Go figure.
it made him excited again to get back into research, and he did. He ended up joining the PRI, um, and he helped create a really cool experiment that they've been conducting for a few years now, and they've been written up in the New England Journal of Science. I think it was not too long ago. I think it was last year. No,
Cool.
2 years ago. They got an article in there about what they're working on and things like that. It's really cool stuff that they're doing. But I would never have met him had I not been at one of these conferences. So
Yeah.
you know, good things happen at those
Good
conferences.
things do happen. And, and it's not just that, it's the fact that the general public
Mm-hmm.
thinks that we all are like the TV shows,
Yeah.
right?
Oh yeah.
So if I tell somebody that I'm a paranormal investigator, God forbid I should use the word ghost hunter,
Mm-hmm.
it's just like, really? And I'm like,
Yeah.
it's a lot of fun, but it's not as sexy as it looks on TV. I don't get somebody in 42 minutes.
They're like,
But
look at the orbs at my house.
yes, right? Pay no attention to the large dogs in the background that are creating all the orbs.
Right.
But, it's just so funny because it really is real science.
Mm-hmm.
And, I started years ago um, working with a friend of mine who is, I'm more woo as far as my abilities go, but I'm very analytical.
Mm-hmm.
And then he is Joe Rocket Science, da
Yeah.
da 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 da,
Factual and all the.
period.
Yeah.
Lloyd
Yes.
Auerbach student, right? And so, me too, but I do bring a little woo to
Yeah.
Professor Paranormal, right?
Right.
So
Find a happy medium.
there is a happy medium. It would be me, but it's so much fun because we started this paranormal study,
Uh-huh.
and so he was working on getting his psychology degree so that the credentials would be there. I'm a paralegal, so it's just kind of like there's research abilities here. We have a psychologist here,
Mm-hmm.
and then he fell in love, and I'm like, now he's married and busy. So
Ruins
wonderful human,
everything.
right? I mean, I was already in love. I was already married, but it's just like one of those things that love does win. It's a good thing.
This is why we can't have nice things.
Or why you do.
Well, I
So
mean,
balance.
you
It
got to
is
balance.
balance. But he
Happy
did. He
medium.
found the perfect person for him. They are so happy, and I'm so happy for him. And it's just like, well, okay. But I still do my research.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Eventually,
And
he'll come around. He'll be like, okay, so I finished my degree.
the
Let's do
news worn
this.
off.
Yeah.
So
Let's
no,
let's do this.
he is thrilled and happy, and I'm so happy for him because you know what? There is nothing better than having your life partner and having it work and be
Yeah.
what you're supposed to be with, who you're
Exactly.
supposed to be with. And I mean, I'm very blessed. I'll take that every day. But I'm also very supported in doing my work.
That's a key thing right there is having that support to be able to
Yeah.
do what you do. That's a I don't want to say issue. Uh, it's a big challenge to find that. So
It is. We
I'll get
tried
to that.
twice. We were married when I was 19 and got married again when I was in my 30s. So
You put a spell on them. I see.
I did. So he put a spell on me too. So it worked out really well both ways.
He's like, gotcha.
Yeah, he's my guy. And he supports me in doing all of this.
Yeah.
There's a lot involved, like with Fate magazine and with because I had to start a whole different study area
Mm-hmm.
because the history of Fate goes back to 1947.
Oh wow.
The first edition was the Kenneth Arnold story, the guy that saw the first flying discs,
Yeah.
and you know that's where flying saucers came from because somebody's like, well, so they were shaped like saucers. Well, now they're flying saucers, right?
Yeah.
But I try to keep up with all that research and stuff too that's
Mm-hmm.
going into that. And I just became a member of the Scientific Coalition on UAP Studies So that's kind of
Congrats.
fun. So thank you. But, and it's really so cool because that is a lot of rocket scientists,
Yeah,
right? And I'm not that.
right.
And
It
but they still,
it's a little hard to compare yourself to somebody that's been doing that, and then you're just coming in like, "Hey, I'm here," and they're like,
well, they
"Okay."
asked me. I was invited. So
That makes it even more special,
I was just like, thank you so
honestly.
much. Heck
Yeah.
yeah, where do I sign up? And do you
No
really know who
doubt.
you're asking them?
You guys done messed up, Ron.
But, you know, just things like that give you so much encouragement, just like your ghost dad,
Yeah.
and how I'm positive that's being received and into the light. You know, I
Yeah.
mean, you've done so much for so long. And I know I'm not the only person that was mesmerized by this topic when you brought it to the fore,
Yeah.
right? So I think it's really cool that you've gotten the recognition that you deserve.
Well, it's really
And
cool. I'm sorry to cut you off.
well, you deserve a lot more, is what I was going to say, but it's nice that you've done so well.
When I first did the first film, when you're talking about the recognition um, of the topic itself, the fact that like I said, there may be an episode here or episode there where somebody did
Yeah,
something, and before I filmed that first uh, film, really I could only think of like one show, Paranormal Files, Fact or Faked,
yeah,
that did anything about spook lights.
absolutely.
Um, but after we filmed the film, we did our premiere in
Hmm.
Joplin, Missouri, and this is where I got humbled. We nearly sold out the theater the 2 nights that we premiered it.
Yeah,
I did not expect that.
really?
I did not,
I would
honestly.
totally expect that with
As a
what you
local
brought.
as a local filmmaker, just like nobody around here really knows who I am. There might be a couple that have seen my show, Haunting History, but like outside of that, nobody really knows me around here. But the fact that everybody showed up for that premiere,
Yeah.
for both premieres, that made me feel so good. Honestly, it'd make feel anybody feel good, but like that blew me away. And it when I say it humbled me, like it humbled me to an extent of like I don't know, like my expectations. Like it made me think that it brought up my moral morale and everything, and as far as filming and the reason why I did it and the steps I did to take to go do this, because I'm not gonna lie to you, I quit my job to go film that. I quit, straight up quit, and went and filmed it in like 3 weeks, put it together, and then did
Wow.
that. To know what I did to get to that point, that humbled me. That made me feel so good, because that now, that set the tone for like other films, other projects and stuff. I know what it takes. I know what I got to do. Like it brought me down to earth. I'm not taking it for granted. Like that's how a good thing can humble somebody, and instead of just building them up and making them have a big head about it. Like, because most people do. I'm not gonna lie. A lot of people get a big head if they have that kind of success right off the gate. That just showed me what I needed to do to be able to do that, and now I can follow that blueprint. So yeah.
Well, and it's brilliant because you said knowing what you need to do to be able to do it,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's a big deal because a lot of people go into that with, I don't know what they think. You know,
Yeah.
this is going to be a cakewalk. I'm just going to take a handy cam and walk around all day.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously everything will be perfect and I won't need to post edit and I won't, and
Yeah.
there is an awful lot other than the interest, other than the time, and obviously money
Oh yeah.
that goes into doing this. And people don't understand what all you have to put into things to bring the information that you share.
And as far as the filmmaking goes, like I made a lot of mistakes. I know that, but
You
it's
were
a learning
learning.
yeah, exactly. It's a learning experience. The second film came out a lot better. You know, that's how the process is, and I wouldn't have no. I knew that going into it. That was part of the whole preparation. There's a YouTube channel called Film Riot that I followed, still follow, but they're just a bunch. They started off as just a bunch of guys that like to make films and stuff like that, and they do it on the cheap, show you how to DIY stuff and all this, and then of course as they got bigger and bigger, they'll take these little subjects and they'll put out videos, and all their videos and stuff kind of built me up to having this understanding of, okay, so this will probably happen. I'm going to experience this, writer's block, and you know, I'm going to have bad angles. I'm going to have sections
Yeah.
of the film that I want to keep in, but it can't because of time, and you got to cut it out whether it hurts or not. Like, it got to do it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff like that would totally wreck people, but like if you know this going into it, like it's not so bad. So I got to credit them a lot.
Yeah.
Film Riot,
That's
check them
handy
out.
though.
Yes,
And say it again.
Film Riot.
So, any of you aspiring cinematographers,
Yeah,
check them out.
absolutely. I think
So,
they got over 1 million subs now, so
so they're doing all right.
they got great content. They've got amazing content. They even did some short films on there that are pretty hilarious, but yeah, they do good. They do good work. So,
Well, cool beans. Well, what are you working on now?
um, just basically, I'm just getting ready. This Thursday, well, this Friday, I head out to the first location on this 2 week trip. So I'm really just kind of getting ready for that. I did release a video last week of a location I investigated recently. I put out. I'm breaking it into two parts. I put out the first part, and I'm hoping to have the second part finished this week before I leave. So there's some content coming out again, and then I'll probably vlog a little bit, do some live streaming while I'm out on the road. It's gonna be lonely for 2 weeks, so I'll be live quite a bit, probably while I'm driving, just talking to people. But yeah, just mainly filming that, getting that all squared away, and then I do want to say also, even though I'm filming this stuff for the Ghosted YouTube channel as well as Dark Realm,
Hmm.
there's going to be differences in between what you see. I have to explain this to people sometimes. So, like, the YouTube channel is more of the vlog style for me.
Right.
I don't want it to be super fancy or anything like that and cinematic. That's what I'm going to do for Dark Realm. Like, they're what they get out of my filming is going to be more cinematic. The production is going to be a lot better. Plus, there's also going to be parts of the investigation that are not on YouTube that's going to be specifically for Dark Realm. So there's going to be, hours of video that aren't even going to make it to YouTube. It's just going to be reserved for Dark Realm. So same locations, different content.
That's fun.
Yeah, it's I can't wait to get all this stuff put together for Dark Realm because I, Jay and Jason and Joe, like, those guys they're awesome. I like them. I was on oh crap, now I'm gonna blank on VidiSpace.
Right.
When VidiSpace was a thing, I was on there, um, but it was just so poorly run. Like, there was no communication.
Yeah.
And from what I heard, nobody really got paid. I got paid a couple times, but like nobody got paid for their content. The only reason I got any any payment was because I harassed her to pay me. um, but
I heard that was the case a lot of the time.
yeah, but I know with Jason and Jay, I mainly talk to Jason about all this stuff, but talking with Jason, like I know what again, it's all about expectations and understanding what you're doing when things are happening and whatnot. So he and I have gone through everything, like, so I know what I'm expecting from them and what they can expect from me and everything. So we just kind of have this this mutual agreement and understanding and stuff going in. So you know, they're being really patient with me on content. I did put the Ghost of Malvern on their streaming service. So if anybody wants to check that out, if you have Dark Realm TV, go check that out. It's a really good video.
If you don't have Dark Realm TV, what's wrong with you? Go get it.
Yeah,
It's good stuff.
So yeah, they're getting exclusive content now from me. So
I think that's very cool.
Yeah.
That alone is worth the price of admission.
That's right. That's right.
So, in my book. Well, if you were a what if guy, you're not really a what if guy. Yeah, I know. But
when it comes to football, I am.
Well, there's that. Right?
What if we had yeah.
But what is your ultimate goal? What would be your dream gig for your work? What do you want to achieve that you haven't yet?
Ooh, that's a pretty broad stroke still, because I have so many interests that I want to do things before I get too old to where I can't do them, like bucket list stuff. So a lot of people don't know I'm a musician. I play guitar. I played guitar for 27 years. Played drums for 25 years. So I've always wanted to go and record an album, and that's something I thought about doing this year, but I've got some other things in line yet before I can go do that. I also want to do a feature film, not like a documentary or anything, but an actual film. I've got the concept already mapped out and everything for that. It'll probably be a short film, horror. I know everybody that jumps into the horror genre, they always want to just do gore and stuff. Not me.
Psychological is so much more scary.
I like to blend things, psychological horror, gore, or psychological and suspense, thriller, stuff like that. I want to make something really, really scary. So that's something else that's on my bucket list is do a feature film, if not a short film, something I can enter into film contests and things like that. I think that would just be fun. But after this year, building up Ghosted, I want to see how that builds. But after this year, I'll probably start working towards recording an album or something. That'll probably be next.
What genre would your album be?
Metal.
That does not surprise me.
Yes. I've been working on my growls and screams, so.
Are you a good screamer? You have to protect for that.
It depends on your taste, really.
But you do have to take care of the chords for that.
Yes.
I mean,
there's technique and there's different ways to do it to not damage your vocal cords. So
yes.
I'm still learning on that. I think I've got an aspect of it. I can do higher notes with it, but I've been singing for a while, like doing karaoke and stuff. I usually do like Disturbed,
right?
That genre, System of a Down, Alice in Chains, stuff like that. Some of the heavier stuff for karaoke, heavier.
Yeah.
But musically, like it's gonna be heavy. Mixed with there's gonna be blends of genres because I've played blues, I've played, I don't want to say pop rock, but like on drums I'll jam to disco, jazz. But even rap. But I fun fact. What was it? I want to say about 15 years ago. I was this close to going on tour with Snoop Dogg.
Really?
Yep. A rap group out of Fayetteville, Arkansas. I got to know them pretty decently, or at least their producer, and he was trying to get me to go record with them in the studio. I declined, and they ended up on tour with Snoop Dogg.
Why did you decline?
It wasn't what I was looking for at the time. I was in a band. We were doing like party metal,
Right.
like Static X, Nickelback, stuff like that, and so it just wasn't. It wasn't on my radar. But yeah, he had informed me that if I had joined them in studio, I would have went on tour with them. I was like, "Ew, he didn't say nothing about that." But
Hindsight, right?
yeah, hindsight's always 20/20.
But the main thing is that you were being true to you.
Yeah,
So,
I like to
and
keep me happy,
well, that's what you do.
right?
And we did not have anybody entered for these magazines. And I see you out there.
Come
So
on now.
somebody, oh, we have 4? I don't see that. Oh well.
I don't even see it.
I stand corrected. But you know what? Do it anyway. If you haven't done it yet, put hashtag whites in as a comment and you will be registered to win. So
Hashtag light
lights.
or lights.
But that is so funny because that is not thank you, Carl. That is not something that I really expected to be your answer.
Music. Yeah.
Music.
Yeah. No. I like to tell people until you get to know me, I'm pretty generic. But when you do get to know me, you'll
You're
find
not
out
generic.
when you get when you get to know me, you'll find out I've lived a very fascinating life, and uh, I used to call myself the most interesting man in the world.
Well, you know what? That's good because as long as you're happy with you,
Oh yeah. Oh, I'm
you are
happy.
the most interesting person in the world to
Yep.
you.
Oh yeah.
And that makes you a lot more fun for other people to interact with too.
And the older I get, the more people will actually want to hear my stories.
Funny how that works, right?
It is. So at work we've got this old gentleman, uh, Phil. He's probably like 80 something years old, and boy, he likes to tell stories. He will just go on these rants about like stuff he's experienced, stuff he's done in his life, and sometimes it's interesting, but then sometimes it's like, dude, shut up and work. But but it's
Enough, old man.
yeah, no, it's fun swapping some stories with him because like some of my experiments parallel some of his experiment experiences, and some of my tastes we blend on taste, like especially with music. You know, my first concert was something that he probably visited like in his 40s or something. Like I went, my first concert was Blue Oyster Cult, Nazareth, and Foghat.
Oh my God, I love Foghat.
It was an awesome show,
So I love all
but
of them, but Foghat was kind of my jam.
yeah. Blue Oyster Cult was actually heavier live than I expected them to be because of the way their
Yeah.
albums sound, but live, whew, yeah, they stole
Yeah.
the show.
I mean, it's a party.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but no, like this old guy, like he's got all this information. He's like an encyclopedia. He'll talk to you about karate, Asia, like all this stuff that's music. Um, he's not a very big sports guy, but like any older gentleman, he's into politics, and that's where we differ.
Well,
I don't talk to him about politics. I do make fun of him though. I pick on him.
well, he probably doesn't care.
No, he doesn't. He picks on me too. We go back and forth. We know we're jesting, but
Well, that's the difference between friends and acquaintances.
yeah,
You know, you can get away with more with a friend, and that's all good. But mainly, I try not to talk about it because I like having friends. And, I have friends that don't even talk to each other anymore. And I'm kind of like Switzerland in the middle.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not talking to either one of you.
It's like
I don't even know,
if you're
you know,
invested in it that much to where it affects your daily life,
I know. And,
go do something else.
it's in the long run, that's why we're America,
Yeah,
because you get to think what the hell you want to.
that's right.
And I do too.
Hmm.
And it doesn't matter. Don't have any business knowing yours. And it's just, that's why we're America,
America.
because we all get to think what the hell we want to.
My heart goes out to You're like, no, no, no.
But, it's so much fun because,
That's for your
you
car.
know, ever since I was a kid, that's been a topic that I love. I was a political science major.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just like, nope, 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 not talking about it. Go away.
See,
And
this is one of those things that, uh,
and that's been that way for decades.
I mean,
I mean,
like,
it's not just right now. People think it's just right now, but America has always, because we're independent.
yeah.
We live our own lives. We don't have to kowtow to anybody. And if you don't like me, that's all right. Somebody will.
So,
I don't worry about it.
so this is one of those interesting aspects of my life that people don't know. My friend and I, we were gonna push for him to run for president back in
Cool.
2016. Um, we had a campaign and everything set up. We even had the verbal backing of Ron Paul.
How cool is that?
Yeah. Because we were just running on the premise of America for Americans, and this is before Donald Trump make America great again. We were basically going to run on this whole idea of, if you're, the premise of, like, if you're born in America and you're of a certain age, anybody can run for president.
By
Anybody
God.
can.
Yeah.
As long as you have, I guess you have to have $5,000 to put down for the application, and then your crap, your party, you have to raise $10,000, at least $10,000 for your campaign. And we weren't really going to raise all that much money because, I mean, we had to get $10,000. But um, the way we were going to do our campaigning was, as paranormal investigators and stuff, we've been on the news a lot. We know, like, morning shows at local TV stations.
Yeah.
You can just go on there for free. You just schedule it. You can go on there for free. We were going to go on the road, just driving around to all these TV stations, do our campaigning on the morning news at all these locations.
Brilliant.
And it wasn't going to cost much to do that, which, like, all these, politicians, they're raising millions of dollars to do that. Just take a few $1,000s and go drive around the country. Speak at some VFWs, speak at, like, some other venues, high schools, stuff like that, colleges,
Groundswell.
Yeah, it's a truest grassroots campaign that you could get. And I think it would have worked to an extent, like being an independent. Like, I mean, the media would, kind of cover you up, like the big mainstream media. They would cover that crap up. But if you're hitting the local news, they can't cover that up.
No, they can't.
So, and nobody would turn down a presidential candidate for an interview.
That was actually already declared.
Mm-hmm.
That's brilliant.
Yeah. So we were gonna do all that, and then so, like, Ron Paul's we were gonna try to see if Ron Paul would, financially back us. He wouldn't, because Rand Paul was running. And he was like, no, but I like what you guys are doing. I'll verbally back you, but I cannot financially back you because of Rand. I was like, we're like, fine, yeah, that was cool. We can just say your name on some things, like, hey, Ron Paul likes this, and we wanted to mix up the parties too, which was a cool thing. We wanted to have it be a mix of support from Democrats and Republicans, and touch on some of the. We wanted to kind of touch on the things that they don't think they have as much in common as they actually do. So we wanted to push some of that, and then also, like, you know, we lean to the right, but we didn't want to push that down everybody's throat, and we wanted to kind of make it to where people had a voice. People got to vote for what they wanted instead of I'm just
Either
gonna,
or.
yeah. So that went down the tubes pretty quick. Mike backed out. My buddy Mike, he was like, it's getting tough, and he was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm like, we made calls, we set stuff up, man. It was cool though. It was an experience.
Why do you think he changed his mind?
I don't know. I think he just, same with like ghost hunting. He left ghost hunting. He was one of my founding, my co-founder for my very first team back in 06. But he left that because he wanted to start a family, and I think most of it was the family issue.
Mm-hmm.
And probably, I don't know if he wanted to be in that spotlight. So
that was a tough year to be in that spotlight.
Yeah, and if he did all that, the spotlight would have got bigger.
Yeah.
And not just on him, but also on his family and everything.
Yes.
So he didn't want. I don't think he wanted all that. So
it's a tough gig.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that is a tough gig. I don't think I would choose that.
Yeah, it would have been fun, and honestly, we
didn't.
Well,
the campaign would have been fun.
Yeah, we knew we weren't going to win, but I think our ultimate goal was to just open people's eyes, and just kind of get them to stop fighting, get everybody to stop fighting, just kind of actually be able to talk about things.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah,
but so nice.
But yeah, pipe dream. But yeah, that's like I said, one of those interesting things I've done. I've said it.
You've done a lot of interesting things, my friend.
Oh, there's more. More than this show can handle.
Well, you'll have to come back and tell me some more about them.
I will. Just give me the heads up.
I will do that. And we are fixing to go with no magazines given out if somebody doesn't come in and put the hashtag lights in chat, because you have to enter to win. So, you know what? I think that I'm so glad that I reached out to you.
Yeah.
Because I enjoy your work so much. I enjoy the conversation. I can't believe it's been so long since we had one. It will not be that long again.
I've had a kid. You're like, oh yeah, I know.
How old?
She is 5 now.
Has it been that long?
Yeah, she's gonna be 6 this year.
Holy cow!
I know. She's playing t-ball for the 2nd year now, and in pre-K and all that good stuff that drives me crazy. But
oh, this is not the part that's going to drive you crazy. You just wait.
She's gonna stay at her mom's for that. But no, she's a daddy's girl. She's 100% daddy's girl. Any parent can relate to this that has a good relationship with their kids. My daughter, like her mom and I, of course, were split. We live like 10, 15 minutes away from each other. But my daughter sits there and tells her mom that I'm her favorite and that she wants to come and live with me and all this. Of course, it makes me feel good. And I feel bad for her mom sometimes. That she has to listen to this. And she'll sit there and do this in front of me too. It's like, shut up. Let's keep that between us, But no, like we co-parent really well. But my daughter acts just like I do. She's a smart ass. She's sarcastic. She's funny. She kind of likes sports. She's a Bears fan. She loves the Bears now because of me. I didn't force it on her. I just wore a lot of Bears gear and, had the Bears on TV a lot and had her watch some games with me. She's a gamer. I had her, she was playing like Tony Hawk Pro Skater on when she was like 2.
Really?
Yeah, she loves fishing, and this blew my mind. When I first took her fishing for the very first time, she already knew how to cast. I didn't show her anything. And it makes me wonder, like, if she'd done some fishing in a past life and maybe it was just like coming back to her and she's like, but yeah, she was casting.
That makes sense.
It was kind of freaky to me. I got video of it too. I'm like, man, I hope I don't have to teach her a whole lot. Maybe she can teach me something.
There you go.
But it's cool. It's cool having a kid that's your exact replica.
I have 2 that are exact and one that's pretty damn close.
Yeah.
So, but we're out of time. Carl is probably sitting there going, "It's time to go."
He's like,
but wrap it. But thank you so much. I had the best time with you.
Well, thank you. I had a great time too.
And I look forward to the next.
Absolutely.
All right. And for everyone listening, you're the reason we do these shows. Thank you for being here. And we will see you. Oh, we're going. Lorraine Dorsey. You have got magazines. So we'll see you same cat time, same cat channel. Take care. Be blessed. And you know what? Thanks for being here. Good night.